Just look, talented, fast hands, controlled everything on the outside, explosive in spots. He was all of that. But he was all of that against a guy who looked old. A guy whose legs they looked like they were gone all night long. A guy who wasn't warmed up, who got caught right out of the box with a bad shot behind the ear or near behind the ear on the side of the head that can really screw up your equilibrium. So, yeah, you have to sort of, you have to balance your review of the night a little bit.
Ryan Garcia might have looked like a world beater, but Teddy Atlas isn't buying the hype just yet. While the world celebrates a dominant win, Atlas argues that Garcia didn't beat a champion. He beat a ghost whose legs were gone before the first bell even rang.
Shut up, Ryan, man. You finally got you a belt. Yeah, you finally got you a belt.
That's the everybody said.
Hey, but you got it, though. But you got it. You got that motherfucker. Yeah. You can't take it away from him.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zatel.
Oh, man.
While Atlas is busy throwing cold water on the parade, Gary Russell Jr. is taking the opposite corner, keeping it real by reminding everyone that at the end of the day, the belt is around Ryan's waist and nobody can take that accomplishment away from him.
It was an amazing performance. Shouts out to Ryan, you're a world champion.
Keyshawn Davis is doubling down on that respect, calling the performance flat out amazing and making sure everyone recognizes Ryan as a legitimate world champion.
Dia dominated Mario Barrios. He dominated y'all 12 straight rounds. Guys, we all expected Ryan to win. I think most of us thought he would do so impressively, right? But we did have questions. Let's be honest. How was his training preparation? How was his preparation for the fight? Was he training hard enough? He's working out in the living room. He's showing you on TikTok, whatever. Was he taking Barrios seriously enough? Was the move back to his father as trainer the right one? It seems like the answers are yes, yes, and yes.
And hell yes.
His father did a great job.
Yes.
I was critical. I was thinking, wait a minute, if you're going back to your dad, you want things comfortable? His father did a great job. Proof is in the pudding. We just react to what we see.
Max Kellerman is leaning into the strategy behind the victory. Pointing out that reuniting with his father was the game changer Ryan needed to finally take his preparation to the next level.
Be with Ryan. He looked sensational in many respects, but I think he could have knocked Barrios out.
Yes.
And I give him for that performance, guys, an A-.
Max Kellerman is keeping it real by giving the performance a solid A-, but he's also pointing out that for Ryan to truly reach that elite level, he needed to finish a guy like Barrios and get the knockout.
I was very impressed.
You know what I thought? Let me tell you what I thought, guys, was the most impressive part of Ryan's game. His feet. Ryan's feet have never been on par with his hands. Ryan's got hand skills. Hand skills, and he's got speed and punching power. He is one of the specially talented fighters in boxing. So the standards for you, Ryan, are not the same as the standards for a normal fighter, because you are not a normal fighter. He's specially gifted. But his feet always lagged behind. I thought his feet looked better in this fight
than any other.
Maybe than I'd ever seen him.
Max Kellerman called Ryan a truly special fighter who showed elite level footwork and speed. He's convinced that when you combine those hand skills with that kind of movement, you're looking at a world-class talent that can't be ignored.
What he did do was hurt him early, but he hurt him early in the fact that it was so early that it kind of caught Barrios by shock, I think. The shot was right on the head, and what I was most impressed with the most, he didn't just go with his jab. He didn't just go with his classic left hook. He went with his jab, and the key shot was the same shot that Floyd Mayweather continued to hit Miguel Cotto with. The right hook around the guard, the right hook around there. Ryan did a good job. I was very impressed.
You know what? Malik Scott is jumping in to give Ryan his flowers, specifically pointing out how sharp and disciplined he looked with his lead hand. He's not just looking at the flash. He's looking at the technical growth Ryan showed by effectively setting everything up with a world-class jab and that lethal right hook. It's a huge endorsement coming from a top-tier trainer who knows exactly what it takes to build a champion. According to Malik, this wasn't just a win, it was a masterclass in fundamental boxing that proves Ryan is evolving into a much more dangerous threat.
Maybe than I've ever seen. What did you think?
He was looking especially twitchy, Max, right?
Twitchy.
Yeah, he was looking twitchy. I'm going to give him an A, and here's why. If he would have knocked out Barrios in the first round, we would have said, well, we were using Ryan at power and speed. What he showed me and all of us, right? Disciplined, focused,
hell of a point.
Layers to his game. I was so impressed by the way he was doubling up on the jab, sharp, the right hands, and he was changing levels with all his punches too. I mean, you see the left side of Mario Barrios' flank.
Very good, Mike. Yes, he was.
Mike Coppinger is jumping on board with a high grade of his own, making it clear that Ryan's growth wasn't just about speed, but about actual ring IQ. He was particularly impressed by how Ryan was changing levels with his jab, a move that kept Barrios guessing and off balance for the entire fight. For an insider like Coppinger, seeing that kind of technical improvement, especially the footwork, proves that Ryan is finally maturing as a fighter.
I noticed was I liked the body language of Garcia, and I said it. Look out for a quick start by Garcia. I think he's going to try to start fast. Barrios looks a little dry.
Yeah, he does.
Garcia, you know, I do go by body language. The body language of Garcia looks ready to go. It looks ready to go. Like he had a freaking cup of rock espresso. You know, if I would have been wrong, I would have looked wrong. But you got to say things before they happen, not after they happen. Anyone can be right afterwards. That's not too hard. So before it started, I said I just like the way Garcia is leaving his locker room. I like the way he looks going into the ring. I just like what I see. Again, the energy, the body language, from my eyes, from my perspective, what I'm seeing. And I hated what I was seeing from Barrios. You know, I was seeing a guy who did not look ready as far as being warmed up. He looked cold. He didn't look energized at all. I know he's the veteran. I know he's had so many fights. You don't want to see him, you know, he don't have to look like a kid ready to go to a concert for the first time to see the Rolling Stones. But I wanted to see a little bit more readiness and not dry. And so the first thing...
Teddy knew something was off before the first bell even rang, just by watching the way both fighters carried themselves. He caught Ryan looking like he'd just downed a triple espresso, totally wired and ready, while Barrios looked completely dry and cold. For Teddy, it wasn't about guessing, it was about seeing a veteran who lacked the necessary fire to compete with a young, explosive fighter. It's a sharp reminder that in boxing, the fight often starts in the locker room, and Barrios simply didn't look like he had arrived.
Look, now getting to how I picked it going in. I was concerned about Barrios being too old. And when I judge and I talk about being too old, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm not talking about the calendar. I'm not talking about the age, you know, chronologically. I'm talking about how many miles, as my son used the term earlier, on the odometer. How many tough fights you've been in, how many punches you've taken. And Barrios been in a lot of tough fights. And recently, he was showing wear and tear. He was showing some shop-wornness, if that's a proper terminology, a proper way of putting it. And he didn't look great in a fight against, what, a 46-year-old fighter. Now look, I'm the first to say it was a 46-year-old iconic fighter, great fighter, legendary fighter. Manny Pacquiao, not an ordinary guy. But still, the guy's 46 and he hadn't been fighting God knows how long. He didn't look, that fight was competitive. He didn't look great in that fight.
When Teddy talks about age, he isn't looking at a birth certificate. He's looking at the damage a fighter has absorbed over a long career. He pointed out that Barrios isn't just old in years. He's shop-worn from too many wars and too many punches taken in the ring. Even Barrios' previous performance against a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao was a red flag for Teddy. To him, the version of Barrios we saw against Ryan was a man with too many miles on the odometer to keep up with a fresh pair of legs.
About Barrios, this version of Barrios now. And I looked at Garcia and I told everyone, there's nothing wrong with him physically. Nothing. He's going to be the more explosive fighter, the faster hands, the faster legs, the fresher legs, the more explosive guy, the more dangerous guy. He's going to be that. The problem with him and trying to handicap his fight at this point in his career is who's going to show up. Which Garcia is going to be that talented kid that we all talk about and we wanted to see and we thought he might be great one day? Is it going to be him? And then all of a sudden he disappears on us and he's like Sybil with 9 different personalities and all of a sudden you don't know who he is And you say, well, what happened to that guy we thought was going to be a star? I didn't know which one was going to show up.
The biggest question mark for Teddy wasn't Ryan's physical ability, but rather which of his 9 different personalities was going to show up to fight. He admitted that handicapping a Ryan Garcia fight is nearly impossible because you never know if you're getting the future superstar or the guy who mentally disappears. Despite the risks, Teddy decided to take a gamble on the talented version of Ryan finally making an appearance. He believed that physically, Ryan had every advantage as long as he could keep his head in the game for 12 rounds.
I said, I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to pick Garcia to win. I'm going to pick it to go the distance because of the experience of Barrios and the temperament of Garcia. But I'm going to pick Garcia to win because I think the talented Garcia, the one that we always want to see, is going to show up. I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to take a shot that going back to his father, the guy who started him. A lot of people would say, oh my God, he went back to his father. His father did start him. So it did make some sense to go back to somebody you were comfortable with, somebody who you won with, who got you started again in this thing. At the end of the day, there's going to be people, the nature, us human beings, we're fickle. We're a fickle sort. There are going to be people that are going to knock the crap out of Ryan still. They're going to say, oh, why didn't he finish him? And then there's going to be people that are going to say, well, Barrios was shot, And that's fair game. That's fair game. Matter of fact,
Teddy defended Ryan's controversial decision to return to his father for training, arguing that going back to the person who started you makes perfect sense. In a sport where fans are famously fickle and quick to knock the crap out of a fighter, Teddy saw this move as a search for comfort and winning chemistry. He predicted the win would come by decision because he factored in Barrios' veteran experience and Ryan's unique temperament, even if critics claim Barrios was shot.
Your review of the night a little bit. At the end of the day, I'm glad that we got a pick. I'm not bragging because I had 4 straight where I lost. Yeah, so I know that. But I'm glad that he got the win. He got back on track. Barrios showed so much heart. We have to credit him. You can say whatever you want, but you have to credit the grit. The Aztec warrior, the guts of Barrios. It was kind of incredible. Now,
while Teddy was critical of the matchup, he made sure to give Barrios the respect he deserves for showing incredible grit under fire. He called Barrios an Aztec warrior, praising the sheer guts it took to stay standing after getting hurt so badly right out of the gate. Even when the legs are gone and the equilibrium is shot, the heart can keep a fighter in the mix, and Teddy was genuinely moved by that display. It was a moment where the old veteran proved that while his body might be failing, his spirit remains elite.
It was kind of incredible. Now, part of the reason why he was able to go 12 rounds after getting so badly hurt right from Jump Street was that Garcia, his toughness, but Garcia didn't really go after the knockout acceptance spots. He didn't consistently keep the foot on the pedal. If he did, I think he would have stopped him.
Teddy is convinced that if Ryan had truly kept his foot on the gas, he would have finished Barrios well before the final bell. The reason he didn't, according to Teddy, comes down to a lack of a killer instinct and a tendency to coast once the lead is secured. Ryan isn't a seek and destroy type of fighter. He's a flashy, explosive boxer who prefers to pick his spots rather than hunt for the kill. By taking the foot off the pedal, Ryan allowed a hurt man to survive the distance, leaving fans wondering if he has the temperament to be a true finisher.
Well, I think part of it is the temperament. I know a lot of people, they don't equate this into the breakdown of a fight like that. But I think part of it is his temperament. His temperament was never to be a seek and destroy guy. Ryan Garcia's temperament was always to be a flashy boxer, an explosive boxer. And he was that. But he was never a guy that was a killer. A guy who was gonna, seek and destroy and just push it from pillar to post. And I think maybe you saw some of that. You know, some people maybe would say, oh, he took the foot off the gas. You know, he wanted to coast. He wanted to make sure he had gas. It's probably a combination of a lot of things. At the end of the day, he is back where they can do what everyone wants to do with Ryan Garcia, the good-looking kid who's got the great social media talent. He's there for a big fight again. He's there in the mix to put his name with somebody else to make a big fight.
Despite all the technical critiques, Teddy acknowledges that this win puts Ryan exactly where the boxing business wants him to be. With his massive social media following and good looks, Ryan is now back in the mix for the mega fights that generate the most noise and money. Whether it was a tactical choice to save gas or just his natural style, Ryan proved he can still win at a high level. Now, the stage is set for him to put his name next to another superstar and prove he belongs at the top of the mountain.
Deservedly so, earned it, looked really good. And I said on my podcast, Inside Boxing, this was just Ryan living up to his potential finally, because obviously the talent was always there, the physical gifts were there, the speed, the power, and people forget about his high-level amateur pedigree, his background. You know, he's got a boxing IQ as well, and he just put it all together. I don't know if it was the camp, I don't know if it was just psychologically he was ready and mature enough, but whatever he did, he needs to be able to repeat that, because that version of Ryan Garcia is a legitimate world champion, obviously, and deserved it.
Chris Algieri is making it clear that this wasn't just a fluke win. It was the moment Ryan Garcia finally matched his elite physical gifts with his actual performance. For years, the world has seen the speed and the power, but Algieri points out that people often overlook Ryan's deep amateur pedigree and high boxing IQ. Something clicked this time around, whether it was the training camp or a newfound mental maturity that allowed him to put all those pieces together.
For sure. How much of it in either case is up for debate. But regardless, Ryan went out there in the first 23 seconds and dropped someone with a right hand. A beautiful 1-2 walk-off. You know, like, so... If not for nothing, he set the tone immediately and just kept it going all night long. So do I think he could have stepped on it, maybe got him out of there? Yeah, I think he would probably agree with that as well. But I think he was being smart, because in the past, he's gotten so anxious to hurt you, knock you out. He loves knockouts. That sometimes it's his own detriment. And I think he was really smart last night, and that's what I think makes the difference of champions, making those smart decisions at the right time.
Have you seen, like...
Algieri loved the way Ryan set the tone in under 30 seconds, dropping Barrios with a beautiful orange walk-off 1-2 that took the air out of the room. While some critics are wondering why Ryan didn't go for the kill, Chris argues that being smart is what actually separates champions from contenders. In the past, Ryan has been so desperate for the knockout that he's fought with too much anxiety, sometimes putting himself in harm's way just to get the highlight reel.
How to rate the Haney fight because of all the complications that are around it. Not making the weight, you know, the pet scandal, the way he was in training leading up to the fight apparently. And then Rollies, it seemed like he did training properly, but he was saying his body wasn't reacting the way he wanted to, and it just was a very flat performance. But last night he put it all together. The thing that, the adjustments that I see in actually him improving, he used his jab. He used to be a range-finding jab, more of a just set up and hold his range and then counter with the hook. Last night he was actually using his jab to set up his power punches. You know, he was busier with the jab than I've ever seen him. He threw more punches than I've ever seen him. He landed more punches, and I think a lot of that really came off the jab.
Yeah. I mean,
looking past the drama of previous fights, Algieri is focusing strictly on the technical adjustments that made Ryan look like a brand new fighter. He noticed a massive shift in how Ryan uses his jab. It's no longer just a lazy tool to find distance or a bait for a counter hook. Against Barrios, Ryan was actually using that jab as a weapon to set up his heavy power shots and keep his work rate higher than we've ever seen. By being busier with his lead hand, he was able to land more consistently and control the rhythm of the entire night. It's a huge step forward in his development, showing that he's adding layers to his game beyond just a fast left hook.
It was awesome, bro. It was probably one of the best performances I've seen of Garcia, man. He boxed well, he looked fit and strong, so good on him.
What do you think of the first round when he dropped him with that shot? Do you think it was over then?
Yeah, I did think it was gonna he was gonna end it, but he got comfortable. He was just in sort of cruise control by the end of it, so.
Jai Opetaia was left seriously impressed, calling it one of the absolute best versions of Ryan Garcia we have ever seen in the ring. He didn't just see a fast fighter, he saw a guy who looked physically peak, incredibly fit, and deceptively strong from the opening bell. It's high praise coming from a cruiserweight king who knows exactly what a championship level engine looks like. To Jai, the way Ryan carried himself wasn't just about the flash, but about the complete package he brought into the arena.
Are you shocked?
I'm super shocked.
Yeah.
Ryan in there doing his big one. He on top of his shit. He fast. He sharp. His instincts, everything. It seemed like everything working for him tonight.
Frank Martin couldn't hide his genuine shock at just how complete Ryan Garcia looked in the ring. He didn't just see a fast fighter, he saw a man who was fully on top of his game, executing everything from his sharp instincts to his blistering hand speed with perfect synchronization. For a top-tier contender like Frank, who was watching from the undercard after his own battle that night, it was clear that Ryan had found a rhythm where every single tool was working in his favor. It wasn't just a win, it was a performance that proved Ryan was firing on all cylinders, leaving even his peers stunned by the level of sharpness he displayed against a champion like Barrios.
I mentioned with Teofimo, Devin, Shakur, Gervonta, they all won their titles in the last decade, 2017, and then the other three, 2019. But he gets it done. He wins his title. It was an impressive performance. Probably the best one of his career, alongside Luke Campbell. Then the Haney fight, which was obviously marred in controversy, but yeah.
Sean Zittel points out that this win was about more than just a belt. It was about Ryan finally catching up to the Four Kings era he's always been compared to. While rivals like Teofimo, Devin, Shakur, and Tank all secured their world titles years ago, Ryan was the lone star left waiting for his moment in the sun. By finally getting the job done against Barrios, he has officially closed that gap and silenced the critics who said he was more of a social media influencer than a champion. That stands right alongside the Luke Campbell win as Ryan's absolute best work in the ring. It marks a massive turning point where Ryan is no longer just a controversial name in the mix, but a proven winner with the hardware to back it up.
Okay, well, so we was watching that fight, and Garcia was, Garcia, we could see he was winning the fight. What does the implications mean that he won the fight? Now, first, I see somebody else saying that. Was he VADA tested through the whole time? Was he VADA tested?
Bernie acknowledges that from a purely competitive standpoint, Ryan Garcia was clearly the one winning the rounds and controlling the action. However, he raises the one big question that has been looming over Ryan's career. Was he VADA tested throughout the entire process? For Bernie, the performance in the ring is only half the story, and the implications of the win depend heavily on everything being above board. He's looking for that confirmation because, in today's boxing world, the shadow of a scandal can follow a fighter long after the final bell. It's a grounded perspective that balances the excitement of the victory with the reality of the sport's strict testing standards.
And, probably from the last experience with Rolly, you know what I'm saying? We was thinking that, Ryan, it was a 50-50 fight. Barrios I think he solidified himself as I ain't gonna say solidified because he had 2 draws after he won the title. But he was a solid fighter, and Ryan Garcia is a solid fighter. Not a great fighter, but a solid fighter with a lot of attributes, power, speed, youth. And so it was a 50-50 fight. It was tailor-made for Ryan Garcia, and he pulled through. So shout out to Ryan Garcia. If he was VADA tested and he was clean, can't take nothing away from him. He won. He's a world champion now. He's lived up to his potential somewhat. He can be a champion forever. There's no taking it back now. He's at least achieved the world championship.
Bernie went into this fight viewing it as a pure 50-50 toss-up, especially considering Ryan's recent shaky history and Barrios' reputation as a solid veteran. While he doesn't quite label Ryan a great fighter yet, he gives him full credit for being a solid one who used his youth, speed, and power to execute a perfect game plan. He believes the matchup was tailor-made for Ryan to succeed, and to his credit, Ryan pulled through when the pressure was highest.
Shout out to him, shout out to him to come back, because even at the same time, he did the cheating or whatever, the Osterang, faced all the backlash, faced the scrutiny from everywhere, and everything that goes along with that, coming back, losing the fight to Rolly,
Coming back from a cheating scandal, massive public scrutiny, and a disappointing loss to Rolly Romero is no small feat, and Bernie gives Ryan massive props for the mental toughness it took to return. He also points out that Oscar De La Hoya deserves a ton of credit for finessing the situation and putting Ryan in the perfect position to succeed. Despite all the arguments and the outside hoopla, the team managed to navigate the chaos and guide Ryan back to a world championship. It was a high-stakes gamble where Ryan had to prove he could prevail against a battle-tested champion like Barrios. Ultimately, Bernie sees this as a successful redemption arc where Ryan pushed through the noise to prove he belongs at the top. The boxing world is officially on fire after this one. Ryan Garcia didn't just win a belt, he sparked a massive debate that has legendary trainers, analysts, and fighters taking sides. On one hand, you have the believers who saw a mature and complete world champion who finally matched his physical gifts with a high ring IQ. On the other hand, you have the skeptics who wonder if he just beat a shop-worn veteran and if his lack of a killer instinct will haunt him when he faces the elite monsters of the division. Now that the dust has settled in Las Vegas, we want to hear from you. Do you agree with Teddy Atlas that Barrios was just an old fighter with too many miles on the odometer? Or are you with Malik Scott and Chris Algieri in thinking Ryan has finally reached his peak? Was the decision to return to his father the ultimate game changer for his career? Also, looking ahead, do you think this version of Ryan Garcia is ready for a massive unification fight with a defensive wizard like Shakur Stevenson? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We love reading your takes and seeing who you think Ryan should step into the ring with next. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this.